Saturday, the 26th of April, I will be live on the Pain Game from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for a mega fight decades in the making. 30 years ago, Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn put it all on the line in one of the most brutal rivalries in British boxing history. Now, 30 years later, their sons go to war to defend the family name, and this time, it's personal. No, I'm actually being serious though. It is really, really personal.
You're still guilty. You're still a drugs cheat.
Well, if I just slap you right now, what are you going to do about it?
I'm April 26th. They'll only do one winner.
I mean, well done. The most unlikable geezer on the planet. Even your dad don't like you.
And that's going to be the Ben name on top.
The beef is real. It's not fake. It's not pretend.
Oh! Tempers flaring.
These people have put me through a lot over the last few years, and now I'm going to make them pay.
Which son will fulfill their father's legacy and uphold the family name? Find out live on DAZN using my link, DAZN.com/TrueGeordie. And when you use my link, you can get 1 month free with the annual DAZN plan or choose a 7-day free trial. And it's never been a better time to subscribe to DAZN. With Ryan Garcia, Canelo Alvarez, Fisher versus Allen 2, Wardley versus Miller, all coming up in the next few weeks. So go to DAZN.com/TrueGeordie and get your pay-per-view today. Welcome back to the Pain Game. Don't forget, we are going to be live this weekend for Eubank versus Ben from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's going to be amazing. But today, we are talking Ben Whittaker. No longer Whittaker after his fight last night against Liam Cameron, who's become some sort of nemesis for this guy. After their last fight, when they both went over the ropes, the amount of talk about that stoppage, that finish, the way it ended, was insane. I've never known anything like it. So much debate, so much controversy over who really was winning that fight at that point, and did Ben quit? The mental pressure for a young fighter coming into a fight like this, knowing pretty much everything's on the line, must have been huge. But I backed Ben Whittaker to rise to the occasion, and rise he did. But there was some controversy to it, and we're going to get onto that in a bit. Now, when the two fighters entered the arena, there was no doubting who was the fan favourite. Cameron comes out a cover of Elvis, which I don't really like that much, that version. Like, it's not really getting the crowd up for it, right? You're the guy who's going to upset everything. You want to get the crowd up for it. I don't think it really did the job. But anyway, he got a lot of the cheers. Ben Whittaker, despite having like a choir before he come out, which, you know, bit of religion, Easter Sunday, why not? You'd have thought people would have like been a bit respectful of the choir. No one gave a fuck, right? This choir, God bless these women, were booed consistently as they were singing about Jesus. And that was a first, I think. I really thought he should have come out to Jesus Walks, by the way. That would have been a banger considering the vibe he was going for. But he came out and he was giving it the big one. He actually owned the moment, and it wasn't like he was fazed by the boos. If anything, he was in his own world as he was on the way to the ring, and that really gave me a lot of confidence. Like, yeah, this guy's young, but he looks very calm given the pressure on him right now, given how much everyone clearly wants him to lose. And actually, the one thing I did notice is Sky showed us Liam Cameron as he left the dressing room before making his ring walk, and there was a look on his face, and the only way to describe it is worry. And he'd been talking a lot and feeling very confident before the fight, but he looked like, I'm really going to get the best version of this guy now, and now I'm going to have to answer for everything. Like, he didn't look that confident. He really didn't. So that was a bit of a surprise for me. And in round one, Cameron did look tense. He looked like a bit stiffer. He wasn't relaxed in that first round, not like Ben Whittaker was. And when Ben came out, he immediately controlled the range in this fight. He has the longer reach. He wanted to make that count. And whenever Liam Cameron would get a little too close, he would adjust his feet and just maintain the fight at his distance. Cameron caught Ben with a few little shots, but nothing major. And when Cameron was trying to assert himself and come forward and look for a bigger shot, Ben would just adjust his feet, extend that distance, and Cameron was falling short very, very quickly into this fight, into the first round. So if you look at this shot here in the first 10 seconds that Cameron throws, and he's just out of the way. Now you see me, now you don't. He doesn't make him pay there. But that was a mental no for Ben Whittaker of, I've got your fucking distance very, very quickly here. And you haven't got mine, boy. This one was about 50 seconds into the first round. And again, you see this back foot here, he's constantly just giving himself a bit of space so that he can lean back at the waist here Whoa, there you go. And he's exposing him, right, with that slow left hand that Liam Cameron had. Here's the clever thing about elite level boxers, really. They notice your mistake, and then they notice it again, and they're like, okay, I think we're seeing that pattern here. They don't just make you pay for it straight away because they want to make sure that when they do capitalize on it, it's with maximum devastation. And that is exactly what Ben Whittaker did. Another good thing that Ben Whittaker did is when, Cameron was trying to close that distance, Ben just kept adjusting and pivoting off. And one thing I experienced when I started boxing a bit was you kind of think like it shouldn't be that hard to just change direction, but it does prolong the thinking, and it makes you have to recalibrate everything. And all right, fuck me, where am I going here? And it just keeps the person having to reset and slows them down in their attacks. It's a lot easier when you're just going in a straight line to tag someone. And this is what we're talking about when we say that there's levels, you know what I mean? Because Ben isn't just athletically superior to Liam. He's an Olympic medalist, you know what I mean? He went way further in the amateurs, as good as Liam was, to be fair, from everything I've been told. The guy is a level above, and these little things showed that immediately. Because he wasn't fighting the way he fought last time, trying to just knock him out and prove a point by trying to bully him. He was now using his mind. He wasn't loading up. He was thinking as he was fighting in there. And Liam Cameron in that first round had very little success. It was a tactical shutout straight away. And in the second round, Ben Whittaker started fast again, keeping the fight at his range, at his distance, constantly adjusting. And Liam Cameron again making the same mistakes, but this time he paid for it. You see Liam Cameron here edging forward, and there's a tiny little micro step back that Ben Whittaker takes that he uses to spring that fucking right hand straight down the pipe. The result is beautiful. Boom! And fuck knows what that must have felt like, son. And at that point, Liam Cameron is in a world of trouble, and Ben Whittaker ain't letting up. The legs were going. We'll talk about whether or not it was an early stoppage in a second, but it was beautiful execution from Ben Whittaker. People will be quick to play this win down and say, who is Liam Cameron, yada, 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 after they built him up so much. That's what the boxing world does. But Liam Cameron's known for having a good chin. He's never been stopped before. And he said after the fight, what the fuck did I get hit with? He didn't have a clue. He admitted I'd never been hit that hard before, other than by Ben Whittaker. So for all the chat about Ben Whittaker not having, that concussive power, I think what we learned in this fight is he does have power, but it's all about the setup. He doesn't have the kind of power where he could just go in there, start, better BF style and put it on you and not have to worry about what's coming back. But if he can open up your mistakes and get you to commit and then capitalize, then he'll fucking hurt you. In a lot of his fights, you see him playing around. He's not really as focused, as concentrated. He was razor fucking sharp in this, and I think Andy Lee with the game plan has made all the difference. In terms of the stoppage, right, we're seeing him get whacked here. He nearly went over there, Cameron. He's getting hurt. Do his legs go? His legs do start to go, yeah. He dropped a bit there. He was in a fucking bad way. Now, I can see why people think it's been stopped early. I think, that's a fair point. Even though I think Ben would have gotten him out of there, because the way this was looking, it was very early to be hurt that badly in a fight. It's very unlikely he would have turned it around, in my opinion. But a fight of this magnitude, a main event, one that we've been looking forward to for a long time, and the first fight ended in controversy. You want to let it go. You want a definitive answer, and you basically want it to be a point where the guy at least goes down. You look at the Tyson Fury, when he got dropped by Usyk, that was worse than that, and they gave him a count and they let him continue. We've seen AJ get dropped multiple times versus Daniel Dubois. He was allowed to go out on a shield. I would have liked to have seen that for Liam Cameron. However, I do think Ben Whittaker was going to fucking win this fight. Everything about it was going his way. Now, at this point, the emotion explodes out of Ben Whittaker, and he's screaming in the faces of the coaches. I don't know if there was things said but between the camps before the fight. Maybe, who knows? But people were booing him before he did that. So now the mob have really turned on him, and they're calling him classless. And look, I'm not defending anything he did there. I don't think it was him at his best in any way, right? I think it was probably the worst thing he could have done after winning a fight like that. But I kind of get why he did it. Like, in other circumstances, I'd be like, well, what are you doing that for? But we know what he's been going through, right? He has been heavily abused online from the second that last fight, ended. This is an Olympic medalist here in boxing who had a lot of self-esteem about his accomplishments and a lot of belief that he was going to go on to be, a world champion. And now all of a sudden, he's shit, he's useless, he's worthless. He has been getting told he is a piece of shit for months on end. And as much as people try to be mentally strong and not let that get to them, it happens. And let's not kid ourselves. If he lost this fight, his career would have not been over, but it would have been fucking massively derailed and as good as over in a lot of people's eyes. The level of pressure on him was gigantic, especially at such a young age in boxing, right? This is only his 9th or 10th pro fight. Like, to be saying this is do or die at this stage is unheard of. And you hear things, about people abandoning him and people he thought were his friends, wanting him to fail. I think he got dropped by Adidas even. I mean, fuck me. And look, I know what it's like to get like thousands of messages of just, hate and abuse and all of that. And it's a lot. Like, we're not mentally supposed to. People might go, oh, you're soft or whatever. But the point is nobody in the world was ever mentally supposed to be on social media, right? We're supposed to be little villagers who know, like, I don't know, a maximum of 100 people or whatever in our lives. We weren't supposed to be getting thousands upon thousands of people giving us attention online, and let alone negative attention where you're getting told how shit you are on a daily basis. It's not normal. And as much as someone can say, yeah, he didn't handle that well, absolutely, he definitely should have been a lot more classier at the end of the fight. Most people don't handle that well. A lot of the time it's just behind closed doors where they're just, struggling in their own way. We've seen that all come out of him, pouring out in one split second. I kind of get it. I hope he doesn't do it again. I don't think it was a good way to act, but I get it. Who hasn't wanted to tell a bunch of people who, wanted you to lose at some point in your life, fuck you? Do you know what I mean? It's a very normal human emotion, that. You just kind of don't do it normally. And I'm pretty sure Andy Lee will probably be saying afterwards, yeah, if you could just not do that again, because I don't really want to have to be, sorting a riot out in the middle of the ring, which, I mean, those things they get out of hand when people do that shit, right? It could have gone south. And I actually thought when they talked about it in the ring afterwards in the interview, there was a question of whether he spat on someone. He didn't spit on anyone, obviously, but it was mentioned in the ring. I thought Andy Lee really spoke very well on behalf of Ben and showed like a good father figure influence, which a lad like Ben really needs. And I think that this could be a great partnership. And he even said, like, I know how Ben can be in terms of his showboating style and whatnot, but he's actually a really good human being. Look, I haven't spent loads of time with the guy, but I've met him before and I've had a bit of a chat with him. And you do get that impression that, like, this is a version of him in the ring, and then the guy out of the ring is a very different person. And he did an interview after the fight, which kind of let a bit of his emotion out, and you've seen a bit more of the normal side of him.
As a fighter, there's no limit and there's no ceiling to how far this guy can go. He's got all the talent in the world, and it's beginning to put it all together now.
You can tell that meant a lot to Ben because he has such respect for his coach, and he coaches world champions, right? This is his level. So to hear that from him, it's reaffirming something that has been attacked for months on end, that I want to be a world champion one day, and people have been saying you'll never be that, and it's pouring out of him now.
The 6 months out, little things. Stuff like my brother had 2 daughters, and I couldn't really enjoy it too much because what I'm going for online. And it didn't really bother me, but it was like even close friends, people that I've classed as family left me. They had a lot to say about me, but it was a great time to really just go back to the old Ben Whittaker.
Even an Olympic silver medalist in one of the hardest sports, in the world, can struggle mentally with just being given all that abuse and all of that. It just shows, right? And he mentioned, people turning on him. I'm not fucking surprised. I am not surprised in the slightest. That's how it goes, right? But the best thing he could have done is exactly what he did, which is disconnect. The internet isn't real. It's a load of bollocks. Take yourself away from it. Remember what is real, what is really important. Who am I, really? really. I'm a fucking a proper boxer. Let's dedicate myself again. And this, I said in the prediction, would be the biggest blessing in disguise. Disguise is a disaster, as they often always are, for the rest of his career, because it's made him realize who he is, who the people around him are, what he needs to do in order to achieve his full potential, and that he can't take anyone lightly. And as hard as this whole situation has clearly been on him, it's an absolute blessing, mark my words.
Like I said, I come from a humble household where not a lot of stuff really was given to us. So to be in the position of everything coming at me at free will, it was amazing. It was good.
This is the thing about like getting any sort of fame, even low level fame, like I've had. You do a certain amount of growing in life, but fame, it's a direction that you never expect to sort of come. A lot of people try to get it, but some people it just happens, right? And you have to do another level of growing that you never anticipated, and you really have to figure out, all right, who the fuck am I really now? The guy's still in his 20s. It's a lot to take on that. And at first, and I think that this probably did happen with him, it happens with a lot of people, you kind of love yourself a bit. You're like, yeah, fuck me, look, you know what I mean? You get carried away with it. That's just normal. And then you have your humbling experience. You realize it's all bullshit. None of it really makes a fucking difference. And then you become the better version of yourself. And I feel like despite his actions after the fight, which, you know, weren't classy, I do think that this is going to refine him in a way that if he didn't have this speed bump in the road, it may have come too late for him. You know, you look at Francis Ngannou, when he dropped Tyson Fury, clearly Fury was not taking everything seriously. Clearly he was up his own arse and he was thinking, I'll just walk in here, do whatever to the guy. His ability to turn things round, all right, he did look better in those Usyk fights, but it was too late to really make those adjustments. That, you know, the damage he'd done to his body over the years, it came too late in the game for him. Ben Whittaker's got this at the perfect time. And I's religious. Maybe the good man upstairs is fucking looking out for him, because this is so good for him. And it's funny to see people like criticize him for crying or whatever. We're so double standards online, right? Because if someone shows emotion and you like them, it's like good mental health, good that men cry. If you don't like them, pussy, you're not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, people just pick and choose whenever mental health applies, I think. And look, I know he's still going to get criticised because of his behaviour and that, but that was a fucking good win. Liam Cameron didn't complain about the stoppage. He took it like a champ, as you would expect. Liam Cameron's really shown himself to be a class act, a good bloke. He's kind of like the Carl Pilkington of boxing, and I think he might have mentioned retirement. I hope not. I'd love to see him, you know, in another fight again, just because his character is fantastic. As for Ben Whittaker, I think that as much as a lot of people dislike him or whatever, he's done the thing that is the hardest thing to do in boxing, which is make people give a shit. Whether it be boxing, music, entertainment, whatever, the worst kind of feeling that your audience can have is, nah, not us, really, either way. You'd far rather some people love you, some people hate you, than nothing at all. This is not a bad thing, and this is something that he can really capitalize, even if he leans into the villain thing. You look at what people like Jake Paul have done with, I mean, Jake Paul's boxing talent is obviously severely less than this, but he's capitalized marketing-wise on that fact that he's hated. Floyd Mayweather made a whole fucking career out of people wanting him to see him getting knocked out. Whether you hate him or you like him, this is great for British boxing. It gives us a new guy coming through. And it's very rare you see someone early in his professional career get this many people talking about them who's not a heavyweight. But he's got the charisma, he's got the talent, he looks the part. If he just stays humble and carries on with what he's been doing this time, I think we could see a lot from this guy. For his next fight, I wouldn't mind a Craig Richards fight. I think that would be a good stepping stone in terms of towards that world title direction. You know, we've seen Craig Richards have a good fight against Dimitri Bivol. We've also seen him lose not long ago to Willie Hutchinson. Willie Hutchinson would be an interesting one because Willie can fight. Willie's a showboater, and those styles, they'd clash in the best way. I'd fucking love that fight, but maybe they do Craig then Willie. I don't know, but that's the direction I'd like to see before we look at a Buatsi or someone who's at the top end of that before you get to the world title fights. Let me know what you thought of it. I'd imagine you've got a lot of opinions. Let me know what you think. Am I being too lenient on the guy? Fair play if I am. You could call me out on that. But most of all, don't forget, this weekend, Eubank versus Ben. The rivalry continues after their fathers fought all those years ago. I'm going to be live in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is going to be sick. Make sure you tune into the Paying Game. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.